empathy, our goal is to see the world through our eyes of the users. So to uncover the real problems that matter to them. Okay, let us see what is empathy design. So what is empathy? Empathy is the first step of design thinking. It helps us to move beyond the assumption of gaining real and human-centered insights. Think of it this way. Before we are designing a product or services or a solution, we must first understand what people we are designing for. For example, if we are designing a public transport system, empathy helps us to understand how commuters actually feel, and maybe so empathy helps us to understand how a commuter feels. Maybe they are stressed because of bus often or late, or maybe parents worry about the children's safety while traveling. So let us see about why empathy plays a crucial role. So why empathy is so important. Let us see in detail. Okay. So because it helps us to uncover hidden problems that the people do not always express directly, and also to avoid a false assumption about what user actually needs, and to create an emotional connectivity or human-centered solution. So empathy also fosters collaboration between the designers and the community, ensuring that solutions are built within the people and not just for them. So let us see the methods of investigation community concern. So there are 4 basic methods for investing the community conservation, that is observation, interview, surveys, workshops, and empathy map. So here observation is that we observe the people in real-time environment like a market, schools, or bus stops, and by watching the behaviors and interaction, we see the things user may not tell us directly, and notifying the frustration at the crowd bus stops tells us a lot about the need for better understanding. And interviews are something that one-to-one interviews, we engage in open and meaningful conversation. The questions may be, can you describe the daily commute, and what are the challenges do you face, and how do you delay the affect your day? And this helps them to reveal their emotions and pain points and unspoken frustration. And the third thing is survey. So survey helps us to collect a quantitative data from a large group of people, and they help to identify the patterns. For example, 80% responders says the buses are unreliable, and we know that it's a major issues that to be addressed. And the last thing is workshop. Workshops or town hall meetings allows community to come together and voice concern or a brainstorming solution collectively. And this builds the ownership and ensures the solution resonates with the people involved. And the last thing is empathy mapping. So empathy mapping is, once we collect all the data, the empathy maps helps us to organize what actually people say, things, do and feel. For example, they say the bus is always late, and do is keep checking their phones for updation, and think is it will be late again, and feel frustrated and anxious. So this visualization helps us to connect emotionally and identify the deeper causes. And next, let us see about the empathy through observation. So the empathy through observation is to immerse yourself in the community environment and to observe their habit and interactions. So spends time in the area where the community gathers, such as parks, public and transportation, and schools and market. Suppose you are investigating issues related to public transportation in the neighborhood, by spending the time at the bus stop and observing the passengers, so that you might notice that many people seem frustrated for long waits or crowded bus. Next, let us see about through the interviews. We are conducting interviews from the community and focus on listening more than talking and asking questions. That helps us to understand the root cause of the concerns. And next is survey. Survey is gathering a quantitative information from large portion of the community, so that we can able to easily identify their problems. Next, through workshops, we directly engage the community in problem identification and collaborative solution design. So that hosting a workshops on improving the transportation, and local officials and transit workers participate in this discussion, where they collectively brainstorm the potential solutions So that they are introducing a real-time bus tracking app to increase the bus frequency during rush hours. And next is empathy map. So by collecting these all the data, with the help of empathy map we can usually identify what they say and what they do and what they think and what they feel to find a better solutions. So next, simulating the challenges. Simulating the challenges is sometimes the best way to empathize. It's to an experience the challenge yourself. That is, we are studying about the bus commuters. Take a bus during the rush hours, feel the delays, the crowd and the stress, and first-hand experience build a genuine empathy and a stronger connection to the problem. Next is synthesize insight into the problem statement. Finally we transform our insight into the action of the problem statement using how might we frame. That is, how might we framework is something that how might we improve the reliability of public transport so that they can reach on time, and also how might we reduce the stress associated with the delay. So the final conclusion of this topic is that empathy is not just a step, it is the heart of the design thinking. It bridges the gap between the observation and innovation and ensures that every solution we create is meaningful, inclusive and truly human-centered. So you can work on the design project. Remember that don't start with ideas, start with people. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Good morning everyone. Today we are going to explore a real world application of empathy phase in design thinking through the case study and improving the public transformation. So in this session we will see how empathy helps us in uncovering the hidden community concern and how these insights lead to meaningful and user-centered solution. Remember, empathy is not just an emotional skill, it is a powerful research tool that helps us to design solution that actually what people truly needs. So let us see about that in detail. See, look at the picture. There is a case that is improving a public transformation. So a city is facing several challenges in public transportation system, where delayed buses and also overcrowding and unreliable schedules. So the main objective of this case studies was very simple, that is to cover a root cause of these issues, to design a practical community-based solution using empathy methods. So the process followed the design thinking model is stating with observation, interviews, surveys, workshops and also empathy mapping, and finally defining the problem through how might we statement. So based on this, let us find the solution for this. So let us see the first step in empathy. So the first step in empathy is observation. So designers spent time at the bus stop and watching the commuters and their real life experience. So they noticed people are feeling frustrated due to long waiting times and overcrowded buses skipping stops, and also passengers checking their phones for updates. So one of the powerful observation was that mother with the children waited over 20 minutes and only to see the bus passes by because it was totally full. So such observation helps us to go beyond the data so that they reveal an emotional truths about the user frustration and needs. So next let us see about step 2. Step 2 is interview. So next designers conducts an interview with different groups such as professionals, parents, elderly citizens and also students. So they asked open-ended questions such as tell me about what are the daily commute and what challenges do you face while using a public transformation. And for these conversation there are several insights emerged. That is, working professionals were often late and faced conflict at office. Parents worried about the children's reaching the school on time and their safety. And elderly passengers felt unsafe waiting at the bus stop at nights. So through these interviews, the human dimension of transport problems becomes clear. Next, let us go for step 3. So step 3 is a survey. To reach the larger audience, online surveys were distributed. That is, the data has been released. That is, around 75% of rated bus reliability is very poor, and 70% said that they are late to work or school at least once in a week, and 85% of persons said that they would use buses more if the service were reliable. So these statistics validate and what observation and interviews have already shown. So the unreliable transportations was affecting the daily life and mental well-being of the people. Next, let us go for the step 4. So the step 4 is community workshop. So empathy also means collaboration. That is, in this step, the designer organized a community workshop to brainstorm the solution collectively. So participants suggested ideas such as real-time bus tracking app and increased bus frequency, and also dedicated bus lanes during the peak hours. So this stages empowered the community to co-create solutions and also give them a sense of ownership and trust in the process. So next, let us go for the step 5. The step 5 is, we all know about that, is empathy mapping. So all the gathered insights were organized through the empathy map and documented what the user actually says, thinks, and do's and feels. For example, they say that the bus is always late. Think is something that it will be late again. Does is something that he's always checking he or she may be checking the phones and calls ride share, and also feel is frustrated, anxious, and also stressed. So this helps us to understand not just behavior but the emotional drives behind those behaviors. So which is crucial for human-centered design. Next, let us go for the step 6. So step 6 is identifying patterns and persons. So to the two main problems was defined, that is Mark, that is as a busy professional who needs punctuality, and Shara is the person a parent who values safety and consistency. So by designing for these two persons, we ensure the solution address real and distinct user needs instead of treating everyone in the same way. So for a person to person, the situation differs. So based on this, we'll go for step 7 for solving the problems. So here finally the team synthesized their findings into how might we statements, such as how might we improve the bus reliability so that commuters arrive on time, and how might we reduce stress caused by the unpredictable schedules, and how might we implement the real-time tracking to enhance the commuter experience. So these statements transformed the community pain points to an innovation opportunity. Then the next stage is about prototyping, testing, and also results. So based on the empathy-driven insights, prototypes were developed, which means a real-time bus tracking app is for live updates, and increased bus frequency during the peak hours, and dedicated lanes to the reduce congestion. So after testing with the user, the result was very impressive, which means it increased the community satisfaction and 20% reduction in overcrowding and noticeable reduction in stress and anxiety during the improved reliability. So this shows the empathy-driven designs leads to a measurable improvements in people's daily life. So the final conclusion is something that to conclude, the case study is beautiful, how empathy acts as a driver for change by observing, listening, and co-creating with the community. Designers uncovered not just the problems but human emotions behind their problems. So empathy is not just a step to rush through, it is a foundation of innovation. So we design best when we design with the heart. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you. Good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about one of the most powerful human-centered concept in design thinking, that is empathy. So empathy is the starting point of every design thinking process because it allows us to understand the user at a deep emotional level. So when we talk about innovation, we are not just talking about the technology or creativity. We are talking about the people, and the empathy connects us directly with their experience, emotions, and need. So let us see in detail what is empathy. So these are the 5 stages process of design thinking, that is your empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and testing. Let us see what does empathy mean. So empathy is the ability to understand what the feelings of the another person is just about observing some people problems or someone's problems. It's about feeling what they actually feel. And in design thinking, empathy allows us to see the world through the user's perspectives and feel like a frustration and joy and understand what truly matters to them. And for instance, imagine designing a mobile app for elderly use. Without empathy, we might not be able to focus on adding flashy features. So, with the empathy, you have noticed what is their real needs and large buttons, simple navigation, and voice assistance. So, make sure empathy ensures that our design is not just smart but also kind. So, let us see about what is empathy in design thinking. What is empathy in design thinking? So, before going to what is convergent and divergent thinking, let me say about what is empathy is the first step of design thinking. So, based on this empathize, we have to define and ideate and prototype and testing. Before defining a problem or generating a solution, we must deeply understand who we are designing for. So, through empathy, the designers learns about the daily life of a user and their pain points and motivations and their emotion behind the decision. So, in short, empathy helps us to move from problem-based to people-based approach. So, let us see about what is convergent and divergent thinking. So, now when we apply empathy, we have two keys approach. That is two key cognitive approach. One is your convergent and second one is your divergent. So, divergent thinking means exploring widely. That means we open our minds to many possibilities, perspectives, and also insights. For example, during empathy research, we may collect varieties of stories, opinions, emotion of different peoples. So, convergent thinking means narrowing down. That means narrowing down to the most meaningful patterns or themes. So, after collecting the data, we analyze and interpret it to find a core needs that truly matters. So both are essential. So the divergent thinking gives us a breadth, while convergent thinking gives us a focus. So together they helps us to empathize effectively and draws insight that leads to human-centered solution. So here the ability to understand and share the feeling of other, that is said to be your empathy. So let us have an example of cell phone technology, that is revolutionary inventions around the world. For example, iPhone. Steve Jobs famously said that he has started with the customer experience and work backward to the technology. So Apple's success came from understanding how people feel using this technology, and it should be very simple, elegant, and human friendly. And if you take an example of designing a wheelchair, earlier design focused on purely on function, but empathetic designer listened to the user and realized what actually they need, and they wanted mobility, dignity, and independence, not just a chair with a wheel. So that realization led to be lighter and more stylish and comfortable wheelchair. So empathy turns the product from a useful to a meaningful one. So it also transfers innovation into something that truly improves the lives. Next, let us see about the empathy chart environment. So one of the popular tool to empathize is empathy map. It also helps us to document what user actually needs, what they say, thinks, does, and feel. So they says is something that their words or opinion, and think is what is going on in their mind, and does is something that their behaviors and actions, and feel is something that their emotions, both positive and negative. For example, in this picture, we can also say an example of a commutator says that bus is very late. Think that if it actually the bus is late, it will be late for work, and do check their phone constantly and also feel frustrated and anxious. So such insights helps us to design a solution that addresses not only a functional needs but also emotional well-being. So with the help of empathy chart, you can easily visualize what is the problem and how can you focus on finding the solution. What is the user needs, what are the pain points, and frustration and solution. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and you learned about what empathy is the heart of design thinking. It also enables us to connect with their emotions and understand their experience deeply. By practicing empathy through observation, interview, and mapping, we design solutions that are human-centered and truly impactful. Remember one thing, that a great designers does not solve the problems, they feel them first, and that's it, the spirit of empathy. And thank you everyone. Let us continue to design with compassion and creativity. Thank you.